Welcome to the gays, everybody. Let's have a look. For this episode, we'll be talking about bedrotting. So, we're going to talk about what is bedrotting, what are personal experiences with it, and then we'll have a little bit of a discussion whether we think it's either a good thing or a bad thing, and why did it become so trendy over the past summer.
But you may be wondering, who the hell are these people? Well, we'll introduce ourselves. We'll start with Gerbs.
Hi, these two people call me Gerbs. My pronouns are he, him.
Hi, these two people call me Migs. My pronouns are also he, him.
Hello, my name is Tree, and I go they, them.
Before we move on, we would like to place a little trigger warning here as we will be talking about mental health and neurodivergence and depressive episodes and its effects, including mentions of suicide. If you find any of these topics too much for you, please prioritize your own well-being. Feel free to skip this episode and we'll see you in the next one. Additionally, if you or anyone you know is suffering with thoughts of self-harm or suicide, we want you to know that you are not alone. Professional help is available, and we have included a few links and resources in the description.
With that out of the way, should we talk about what bedrotting is?
Yeah, let's. Okay, I've got a couple of different definitions here. First, we'll start off with Dr. Jessica Gold via CNN.com. And I quote, "Bedrotting is similar to having a lazy day, but it's more of an immobile term with less activity." End quote. Secondly, contribution from today.com, and I quote, "To spend basically the entire day or even weekend in bed, doing everything from napping and doom scrolling to watching TV and eating. The idea is that to help cope with tiredness or burnout, spending a day or two under the covers will offset some of the exhaustion." End quote. And finally, I would like to end with a definition of bedrotting via our good friends over at urbandictionary.com.
So reliable.
Very reliable. Thank you to username @Chriso, exclamation point. And I quote, "The Gen Z term for staying in bed for days on end, binging on Netflix, TikTok, and Hinge as examples." End quote.
So with that definition of bedrotting, what is everybody's personal experiences with it? You go first because mine's kind of heavy.
Okay, bet. So for me, I'm speaking as a mostly neurotypical person. So this will vary, from other people who, have more or less neurodivergence than me, I guess. So for me, I experience it more in shorter bursts. It's not, I don't remember the last time I've had a full lazy day when I didn't actually do anything. There have been some, but they're more rest days, weekends that I don't have anything lined up. And even then, I might have had something to do either in the morning or in the evening, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it's, I feel lazy, I feel fatigued, I generally feel unmotivated. And for the most part, for me, it happens at nighttime, early morning, late night. Kind of 3 a.m., which is why I send you those memes at
Yeah, she'd be sending me memes at 2 a.m. I have the receipts for it. I have an excuse. I am a student. I have coursework to do that
I am just chronically online.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's usually for me, I feel not the need to do it, but I usually have nothing lined up for the day coming where I don't feel any pressure to basically get up early or anything. That's what I will do is that I will sit on my phone in bed or on my at my desk scrolling through whatever, and just honestly probably neglect the shower in the evenings. So I do, because I'm I'll do it in the morning, and it's a hit or miss when it comes to that.
We all do it.
It's fine, yeah. So that's my personal experience with that one. Gerbs, how about you?
So, personally, I don't think I consider, myself actually fully doing bedrotting. Because, I can't really, actually do full bed rots because I work every day. I do pretty much, sometimes, more than 10 to 12 hours of work, even, more so, 15 hours a day at work on the weekdays, and then 5 to 8 hours of work on weekends, so I don't really have like, you know, time to like, put myself first because it's always just always just me pushing through. So I guess like the only time that I could probably just bed rot is I guess every morning when I wake up. Like I'm usually like awake like two 2 hours or an hour before I actually have to go to work, and I just lay in bed awake, like on my phone, just pretty much just relaxing, being comfy on my bed, just like enjoying the warmth pretty much. And because of that, I am always late at work. Like there has never been a time, well actually no, there has been a time that I was early when my boss told me to like, hey Jeremy, you have to be on time.
Can't relate.
Yeah. I know, but like you have to be on time. Like and I was just on time for like 3 days, and that was pretty much it. And I've been late ever since I got my promotion because it's just exhausting. And yeah, and I just can't really like I'm always on the grind for work, so I can't have like a small mental day for myself, like bed rotting. But then again, I'm not sure if that's considered bed rotting, just small bursts, because I haven't had like a full day of just doing nothing because the guilt kills me and it swallows me alive.
I think for me, I use bedrotting as a tool to handle depressive episodes that I have. For everybody who is listening and watching, I am diagnosed with bipolar 2 more specifically, bipolar depression. But yeah, I use it as a tool to regulate depressive episodes just so I can get through them, because some of those can get really, really rough in going through it, if I'm being honest. So for me, I do bed rot. Like, we just had winter term, and no, fall term, sorry, we're starting winter term. And over the holidays, I actually just bed rotted majority of the time. That's because I was going through a depressive episode. But yeah, for me, I use it as a tool to manage depression. Me and my depression are besties. We're like this. She's
gotten so big now.
She's gotten so big. She's a teenager. I've been working with my depression for a little over a decade now. I think 13 years, close to that. So she's answering back to me, but like, bitch. I know how to handle her, sort of, kind of. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so from a neurodivergent side, I use it as a tool just to get through the rough times, you can say. But yeah, those are our personal definitions of what bedrotting is. And how about we all talk about our personal, well, we kind of did a sneak peek of like what our personal experiences with it as well, but like we can dive deeper into it. Again, I'll go last because I'm the heaviest one.
Trigger warning in post.
I'm the trigger warning. I'll go last. Migs, why don't you start?
Okay, so just to like expand, I guess, a bit upon like my personal experience with it, like I'm like mostly neurotypical. I'm
the
not...
most operative word in that sentence is
mostly. Yeah.
Operative word is mostly.
Mostly, but like yeah, for me it's like I know we've like discussed this in like previous like planning and like stuff like that, but like the word procrastination comes to mind like for me personally.
Yeah.
But I know it's a sticky like just term for you in general.
Yeah, as somebody, I don't really like the term procrastination. I just have some gripes with it. That's why oftentimes I avoid using the word, because there's just a lot of nuance placed into it, and there's also like the social aspect of
the stigma of it.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say stigma, but
it's the stigma.
You said
it's
it. You
sure
said
as hell
it.
is a stigma.
Thank you. Yeah, the social stigma of procrastination and like the entire nuance just gets muddled. We'll talk about it more in a later.
Yes, we will, because I also have some semantic beef with some things. But
yeah.
Just as a background, like they studied like. I can say this. Could I say this?
Yes.
Like you studied linguistics, right? So you have an interest in linguistics, that kind of thing. I have an English minor. For me, my personal experience again is like it's like shorter bursts. I'm like me and Gerbs have like the similar thing where it's like we microdosed on it, right? Yeah. Like most, like mainly, like you said, you can't afford to really go longer.
Yeah, I can.
For me, it's a little different because again, I don't plan to, but like I usually let myself do it when I feel as if I have I don't have the pressure of having to do something or being responsible for something in the next like 12 hours or something like that. Like if it's a school night, I try not to. Or if I have like work early morning the next day, I try not to. It doesn't always not happen, but yeah, again for me, it's like just that lack of like pressure for me just like lulls me into like doing it. But yeah, like I don't really set like a parameter for myself because we've also talked about like people setting time limits on theirs personally.
Yeah, and a lot of the TikToks talking about bed rotting, a lot of them will give themselves a timer or like, okay, I'll do it over the weekend and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like for me, it's like it just happens. Like I don't really plan it.
She's natural.
She's all natural. Maybe she's Maybelline. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's like the whole thing is that like I microdose on it. I don't go. It's very rare that I go a full day without really doing anything. Because even if I am like lazing about in bed, I will eventually like get up, do something. Like if it's not on my phone, it's gonna be on my computer, or I watch something on YouTube in the living room or something.
Yeah, you're still getting up.
I'm still getting up. Yeah.
And like I feel like a general consensus, at least, of when somebody says, "Oh, I'm bed rotting," is like, you just stay on bed.
Yeah.
You don't do nothing. You're just on bed from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe bathroom breaks though.
Yeah, bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pretty much do anything. Just be on your phone, like read a book.
Even skip a meal or a couple meals. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just your own comfort in your own room or on your own bed. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Migs.
So that's me. Yeah, Gerbs, how's you?
Okay, so like besides like I guess waking up in the morning, and then of course just staying in bed before going to work. Pretty much I guess like when I know we don't like you guys don't like using the word like procrastination, but that's what I use for myself because I just do like feel guilty often when I don't do like the work that I'm supposed to be doing. Instead of just doing the actual work that I wanted to do, like for example I've been trying to clean my room. Well,
He's been trying to do this for like a year now.
Well, here, I'll be more specific. My room has not been cleaned since 2021.
So yeah, a year.
Of November. Yeah, it's already 2024.
It's been like 2 years.
Yeah, it's 2024 now, January.
Yeah.
So like the time I actually actively tried to clean my room was just this December because I wanted my room to be clean before New Year. It's already been 14 days in January, so it's not happening. Because every time I made one small attempt and one huge attempt. I pretty much like moved some stuff from my room to the living room, and then the other times I do make attempt, I'm just on my bed, 3 hours in, 4 hours in until I just pass out, and then go to work the next day and then restart. But it's not like I'm doing it on purpose because I guess I just get too distracted. Easily, I guess, because I'd rather just be on my phone, on my bed, which I'm trying hard. I'm trying. I know it doesn't seem like it's hard. You can just like go
tempting. It's temptation.
Yeah, I don't know. Like other people might think it's not that hard to
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. You don't know what people are going through in their head.
Yeah. No. I don't know. To me, like I do feel guilty every time like I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. So I just keep, I'm just on my bed, not doing the stuff I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, when we were brainstorming, when he brought up that fact, we did talk about like the hustle culture and it not being very sustainable culture for anybody. Like it needs to be like a niche of people. Not everybody needs to be like
Not everybody needs to be on the grind. Yeah.
Like
no, I don't want to be on the grind. My brain is programmed to eat berries in a field. Or something like that. But
yeah, we were talking about when Jeremy was speaking about it. It's like hustle culture. I hated how it became like trendy in like late 2010s.
Oh, I argued that it's been ongoing.
It's still ongoing, but it's not as prevalent for me. I kind of divulge a little bit into it already. I use bed rotting as a tool, and I've been bed rotting even before the term was coined. It was coined like late last year. But like I feel like a lot of people, especially neurodivergent people who are going through like depressive episodes, who do have those bounds, they probably have been bed rotting, but not as prevalent, or it's not as well known.
Or like it hasn't, like the name itself hasn't been like put to it
Yeah.
until
Oh, yeah.
recently. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like all of our definitions that we found are just like what, late last year?
The 2021 minimum, like,
Yeah.
and later.
Yeah, and the thing with bedrotting is, like I said, I use it as a tool for when I go through depressive episodes.
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning, they do
Trigger
get
warning.
they do get pretty intense. As somebody who, like I said, is have been diagnosed with biochemical depression. I'm not saying any other depression is invalid. No, absolutely not. Your depression is your depression. You work with that bitch.
That should be on a shirt. Yeah, all of it.
As
Yeah.
somebody who's been working with depression for over a decade,
Trigger warning.
trigger warning, I've always had like suicidal ideations running in the back of my head. And when I do get like really bad depressive episodes, they just push themselves into the forefront. And honestly, when I go through depressive episodes like that, there's no way I can like go about it without just writing it through. Like, there are times, honestly, like, there's just no way for me to go either around it or like over it or under it. No, you just have to go through it. And like, honestly, less harmful for me to go through is bedrotting. That's like an alternative that I use in my arsenal in terms of not harming myself, is one of them.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's like the inactivity portion of it is like what prevents the activity portion of it, right?
Yeah.
Like when I guess when I first discovered that like antidepressants sort of like, you know, there was a risk of you actually, trigger warning,
Yeah.
attempting suicide, like,
Oh, yeah.
because like you're livened up, but then it doesn't actually regulate what you want to do. It's
Yeah.
just like if you have that thought already,
Mhm.
and like that was at the forefront of your mind when the antidepressants kicked in,
It's
you're
it's
more
something-
likely
yeah,
to
because
like
it's making you go out of bed.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like for me, I keep on reiterating because I do use it as a tool to just get through the depressive episode, through like the valleys of it, and not end up where I don't want to be anymore, and like just end up in a spot where at the end of it, am I gonna feel like I worked through a lot because I know what Jeremy's talking about when he said like there's guilt associated with just like lying down all day and not doing anything. I had to work around it. Like I had to do a lot of like self-actualization and like really work on myself to be, I have to bedrot or else it's not gonna be a pretty situation for anybody.
No.
That's the situation that I'm in when I bedrot. Like, it's not always like that, but there are going to be moments of like that, and there are moments where I use it not to slip into those type of situations. And that's why I guess we're kind of sliding into like the next portion of what we're going to be talking about. Is like a good thing, a bad thing. Like, is she ugly? No, she's not.
She's got a good personality, I
Yeah,
guess.
and like in a sense that like there's like low-key a bastardization of bedrotting. Is like you cannot do this, da, 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 and all of these things, and it just
And by who?
a lot of the definitions that you looked at, or a lot of the if you go through TikTok, you just put it in the search bar, bedrotting, you will see like an MD or like a GP who has a TikTok audience is like, do not do bedrotting. It's a harmful way of like taking care of yourself. And it just ticks me off because like you don't know that person. You're giving out like a general advice that can potentially be helpful for people, but at the same time could be potentially very unhelpful for other people because you'll just make them go spiral. Because what if they've been bedrotting?
Because like it's either the guilt associated with it or like the fear of actually doing it and like experiencing it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
a little tangent. This goes to like the healthcare system and mental health care. There, a lot of people are saying we're getting better. Fuck, no, we're not. As somebody,
Not as good as we are making it out to be.
yeah, there's a lot of like fanfare around it. And just like it's, I get it. It's baby steps, but it's not where we need to be because
No.
people are still in danger.
And stigmatized, if not that.
And like there's the thing, right? Like when we were talking about this, when there's like the
Sensationalism.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sensationalism on the socials, it always ends up being the bastardization. It always ends up there. And ticks me off so much that like when bed rotting became a thing, I had a gut feeling that like I'm gonna see someone
some
in,
bitches. I'm gonna see some bitches. They've been having those hot takes.
I'm gonna see a person in a scrub telling me this isn't healthy.
Yeah, there's even this quote from this like website called Healthline. As a mental health professional, I think this trend is misleading, concerning, and unhealthy, says Catherine Del Toro, a Florida licensed mental health counselor with Grow Therapy. Self-care is about taking care of your general health and wellness, and bed rotting does not promote this.
Again, I hate that, but you don't know what that person is.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to when it comes to mental health care, more specifically, it needs to be a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because like how I go through depression is going to be severely different from people who might have depression who is just situational, right? For me, it's biochemistry.
And it could also even be different between you and somebody else with like clinical depression or bipolar 2 or
bed rotting is so subjective for you to, as somebody who quote unquote is in the healthcare system, okay, for you to just say it's outright bad when you don't know. Like I could be a fucking case study. I'm like, yeah, this helps me a lot. I don't know what you people are telling me. I don't know what this generalization you're talking about, but at the same time, I do recognize the fact that like it can be a tool for a certain person.
Right.
There's a big asterisk on it when I say it's a tool, because like I said, you kind of need to be at least friends with your depression and have a lot of like
awareness
and like self-actualization to like get through it. Because I can see what they're saying, that this is a harmful thing. Oh yeah, definitely, because it can lead you to nowhere, but at the same time you have to understand that like some people, that's just all they can do, man. Like just to get through the day, all you can do is just lie in bed. If that means you're still gonna wake up the next day, then just go for it.
Yeah, I'd rather you wake up the next day having done nothing than
being in the obituaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like this it's not a debate, but like I just hate the fanfare of like people are saying, or not even a fanfare, but when I go through TikTok, it just like hurts me.
And like what's the word? Not dichotomy, the polarization,
Generals.
I guess. Yeah, the polarization of like this is good, this is bad, and there's no in between. That like is really harmful, not just for this, but like for everything, yeah.
For everything.
And like, but like the thing is with like that kind of content is that it's so easy to consume and produce to be like, this is completely bad or this is actually good for you.
And the way that they sensationalize it, they come up on camera with their scrubs on and all of these stuff, and their handle, they have MD on it. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to your 2 cents, but at the same time, it like for somebody who isn't, like I said, I've been with my depression for like what, close to 13 years. I've consumed a lot of media and a lot of like content and a lot of things that could potentially help me through it.
Right.
If you're just a passerby and you saw this, then you would have a negative connotation in your head, like planted immediately. And it's just so shitty, because as somebody, for me, I'm just like, I bed rot, and I see it as a way through it.
That's not the only way, but it's a way for you to like function as a normal human being, or to help you function as a normal human being.
Yeah, because if it works for you, then that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You found a way that that can definitely help your mental health.
Like it's just really shitty when it comes to things like these, and I know they're coming at it at a place of, hopefully,
like for professional, like.
Well, that's the thing too, is that like for me, it's like it's really hard for me to like trust someone saying, "Oh, I'm an MD." Are you? Like, I like the only way for me to like find that out really is to go to your office and like
have
actually be licensed and actually have a session with you.
Right.
Like, I'm not just gonna follow your advice just because you say. Just because you're in your scrubs and you have MD in your description.
Yeah.
I could buy fucking scrubs from the thrift store. I could dress up as a physician.
Oh, you can cosplay as one.
I could cosplay as one, and I could pretend and lie on the internet, because that's what some people do. And like that for me, it's like, how can I trust you? Like when that's what you do, and like for me, I can't personally visit you, obviously. So I take, like, for me personally, I take those things with a grain of salt.
I take it with a pound of salt.
A pound of salt, yeah. Minimum a grain.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
minimum of grain, but I take it with a pound of salt. And like I said, I'm not, when I say it's a tool, there's a big asterisk on it when I say people do need to have like the parameters set, because for me I have kind of like red flags in my head when I'm like, oh, we're going through it, like
Your checklist?
yeah, I have a checklist in my head that, oh, I'm going down a depressive episode, and like it is time.
Yeah, you kind of have to do it better.
It is time.
You have to schedule a 7 a.m.
Yeah.
The
appointment.
floodgates have opened.
Yeah.
Yeah, the floodgates are about to open.
Or no, I guess like for being pedantic, the floodgates are now closing.
Yeah.
No more endorphins for you, or whatever the neurochemicals are. No more. We are cutting that off.
But yeah, there's just like it's just a shitty thing to have. And like, going on a tangent about this, we were talking about a while ago, when something is sensationalized and it becomes co-opted into something entirely different, and I had a whole tangent about it with code switching, because I can't.
Your hyperfixation is on linguistics.
Yeah. To the point that I spent $10,000 on it. Well, not 10,000, but like thousands of dollars on it. I'm just gonna go on the tangent again, because I felt so passionate about this. Code switching is when somebody switches from another language. So like me speaking to you in English, and all of a sudden I start speaking Tagalog, which is our language. That's code switching. But what people do on the internet, I'm like, oh my god, look at AOC code switches. She's not code switching, she's just style switching, because how she talks on the Senate floor is gonna be vastly different on how she talks like to a friend.
Yeah.
Or just walking around New York City.
She's from New York, so of course, like, she'll be different, like, in the political, like,
she's not gonna say, "Hey, I'm walking here down the Senate aisle."
But yeah, it's just like
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
But yeah, it's just
New Yorkers are gonna hate us.
Yeah.
It's okay, it's locators. Y'all have some rats to deal with. Leave me alone.
Yeah, we have snow, so we're even.
But yeah, going back to my tangent, it just pissed me off, because there's not a lot of like linguistic, like you don't hear linguistic on a day-to-day in like the socials, right? Like TikTok, YouTube.
No,
whatever.
not unless you've jumped down a really big rabbit hole.
Yeah, you don't really think about it too much. You don't talk about it too much. So when it first popped up, I was so happy. I'm just like, oh my god, people are interested in linguistics. And then they just went and like flipped it on the script. I'm just like, never mind. Can we start gatekeeping shit again, please and thank you? Because I can't do this anymore. But yeah, that's the end of my tangent. Start using code switches properly, okay? Thank you.
Or at least label them properly.
Yeah, you're style switching, you're not code switching.
Don't bastardize the real definition.
But that's kind of like my stance on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Okay. Gerbs, what's your stance? Is bed rotting a good thing or a bad thing? What are your thoughts on it?
I personally think it's not the best for me. I understand it how it could be helpful for other people, but personally for me, like doing bed rotting, just being in bed, not accomplishing anything, just pretty much not doing anything, doesn't always answer my problems, which I'm aware of it because I also do the exact same thing with like my depression.
Again, I did put like an asterisk on it that like you need to be friends with your depression to like effectively bed rot.
Yeah.
There's a big asterisk on me when I say bed rotting is a tool.
Unfortunately, I often like think my depression does not exist, but I know it. I know she's there. She's in the back of my mind. Sometimes, like, you know, knocking in. I said no one's home, so pretty much that's what I do with mine. Like, I just forget about it, distract myself pretty much. Like, but of course there are times when my depression does, you know,
knock down the door.
Yeah, they like she has a battering ram.
No.
You know.
Yeah, and like
she like, you know, she respects my privacy by knocking, but as an authoritative figure, she'll just come in anyway. So.
The funny thing about this, I actually was in his boat like a couple years back. Like I said, we're besties. But there was a moment eons ago. There was a moment in my life where I was pushing depression at the back of my head, or like just pushing it down, or just flat out I would recognize it but like not do anything about it effective way. So it's more like I kept on putting band-aids and band-aids and band-aids on it, and then I just ended up in the psych ward. That's
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning.
Yes.
And that's why I'm very open to my friends about being like, out of everybody in our friend group, I'm the mental health advocate, if I'm being honest.
Yes, they're really beloved.
No, sure.
Yes. Well, no, I mean, me.
Oh
Yeah, me. I mean, you have definitely helped me.
Yeah.
Like, we've had talks in my car.
Yeah,
So-
and I keep speaking about this to all my friends that, like, if you're going through it, then just call me, because I don't want anybody going through what I went through. It just made it worse because of the healthcare system and
Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
whatever there is.
Whatever the hell it is.
Like, we have a crisis center here. I've been there like 3 times. It didn't really help me at all.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like you can't really blame them if they're underfunded
And
like,
under
they don't have the
resources.
materials for it,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So
Which is a separate episode.
that is a
Yeah.
separate
That
episode
is going to
about
be a
healthcare.
separate episode. We are not going on that tangent right
Yeah,
now.
but like I said, I just, as long as I can help one person get through their either depression a little bit easier than what I went through, or either if it's like just a spur of the moment depressive episode, if I can get through to that one person, then honestly I'll feel so much happier. It's low-key like narcissism, because like, oh, I did that, but at the same time I just want to help somebody not go through what I went through. That's why we're doing this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Spreading good information.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, you are not alone. If you are going through something, please seek out help. Not me, because I'm going through something. I am not licensed, I'm just a veteran. I am not licensed, I'm just a veteran. That is it. I can give you a couple...
Here's some links.
I can give you a couple of like tricks up my sleeve, but nothing too...
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a
I
veteran.
can't prescribe
Yeah,
you any
exactly.
pills.
Yeah.
They're a
For
veteran.
one.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
active duty, so...
Yeah, the best way for me to describe myself is I'm a veteran in this rodeo, I guess.
And this mental health war.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, dramatize it as.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to my thing is yeah, because like that's why I distract myself by like overworking, and because like that makes me feel like I've accomplished something. It's just like that feeling. If I do something about it, is it helping my mental health? Absolutely not. But
It's a distraction.
it's a distraction, right? Yeah, like because I've gone through like, of course, like
Trigger warning.
Yeah, trigger warning. You know, parents.
Childhood trauma.
The trauma I've had as a child, like growing up. Just like yeah, just distracting like does help me feel like just feel. It feels great because I'm not really like facing it head on. It's just at the back of my mind, pushing it down. I know it's I already know it's bad. Like I've heard from other people, because like once you keep bottling up, it's just gonna spill over. Yeah, because bedrotting doesn't always work. Because yeah, I just feel bad and guilty about like not accomplishing stuff. Like for example, like I mentioned my room, right? It's been like unclean for like the past 2 years. I even used like the guest room as my own bedroom for the past
You know what's
year.
You know what's funny? For me, I see my room as a state of my mental health. Like if my room is like down the hill, oh shit, baby girl.
We are in the
Yeah.
doldrums.
we're in the trenches.
We're in
Yeah,
the
my
trenches.
sister said the exact same thing about my room as well. Because my
Yeah, I think
I'm
people
chaotic in my
usually do say that like you're.
It's a physical like embodiment.
It's a physical manifestation of like your current mental state.
Because a lot of people associate their bedrooms to be their most vulnerable state.
That's their sanctuary.
That's
That's
true,
their
yes.
safe place
yeah.
yeah,
for the most part.
Take that as you will.
Oh yeah. No.
That's an advice from a veteran.
Yeah, no. Like when I lived with my parents, I felt the most comfortable in my own room. Back to like the topic, Migs. What do you think about bedrotting? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? Is it pretty?
I'm sure it has a great personality. Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know.
Maybe
For me, like I understand the benefits. I understand the cons of it, especially for neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
And I do agree that like on some level it could be a form of self-care.
Yeah.
I see that point. It's just that my problem with I don't want to say problem. Problem is such a strong word for what I feel about this. It's like semantically, I just have
right?
a bit of a gripe with like using bedrotting as sort of the umbrella term for it.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean. Like, and I'm not gonna be an authority on it, obviously.
What should be the
Like,
right umbrella term then?
what I mean umbrella term is that people associate, the stuff that I do, like basically microdosing on it, or just like, the old fashioned term of like, decompressing or De-stressing.
Me
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Relaxing. Yes, for lack of a better
Quote
term.
unquote self-care.
Quote unquote self-care. And it's like, and to use the term bed rotting, like for me, bed rotting is basically where you're gonna be at the bottom of the slope, of the slippery slope.
So you don't like the word rot.
That's what gives me pause. I don't necessarily not like it.
Because
It's
you're
that-
not rotting, you're just on pause.
Yeah, exactly.
But is there like a better term for the thing then?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if there's a better term. It's just that like
If you can rename it right now, what would it be?
I would just stick to like decompressing because that's what they pushed us with like in education because that's what they always said. Take time to decompress, take time for yourself, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like okay, like if we're gonna stick with like the terms with the definitions of it and like keep it as a thing, because again, I'm not gonna be an authority. I'm not gonna be banging a gavel and being like, and I declare bed rotting archaic and improper and as much of an English minor as I am, but
it's all right to gatekeep. Don't
it's
worry.
alright to gatekeep.
Don't worry. You can be.
Yeah, but like
clear.
I'm not the person to gatekeep though. That's the thing.
I know.
Because
You
like
can,
it's not for me.
Yeah.
And I
It was
recognize
just
that.
like a mass term. Like it was just a term that was coined by the masses.
Well, that's the thing too. Is that like it's that whole sensationalism thing that I think gives me a bit of an ick for it. That
That's
like
a better word. You had an ick.
I have a bit of an ick with it. Yeah. It's not like I'm completely disgusted by it, but the fact that it was just I guess co-opted by like
So many
many mainstream.
Mhm.
people just to
And
have like a
outlets.
clickbait.
Exactly. Like it's if you feel like every time that like there's an article that comes across it, I'm always like, okay, where's the clickbait sentence that it's like, oh, this is bad or whatever, and it's like for the most part, the ones that I chose anyway were like, you can use this as self care, but you also need to be wary of it becoming like
Like
downward.
a slope, yeah.
Oh yeah, because that was the same thing that I read on my article as well. That bed rotting could be good for like maybe just like a day, 2 days.
That's I
But-
think I get what you guys are saying because like it's I think we all have gripes with it because there's a generalization to it and like the co-opting of like the neurotypicals into it when in reality it's like when it gets co-opted into mainstream media what I often find is like the bastardization obviously and then there's also just like I don't know how to explain it but like it turns into something that isn't not a real thing but like you cannot possibly use this to help you type of deal.
Yeah.
It gets downgraded from an actual helpful thing to like it's just a trend.
That's the thing is that like when the word trendy gave me an ick for it.
Yeah.
Even in the articles that I was reading, when some of them were saying, "Oh, this new TikTok trend," and it's like, ew.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not a trend; it's just something people do to like it's copium.
Yeah, honestly, because honestly, when I read that TikTok trend, like it's called a trend from TikTok, I moved away from it because I don't have TikTok.
Because
I chose not to.
Because there's
So.
there's like a general consensus that anything associated with a trend is a bad thing. It's like anything trendy kind of gets stigmatized to.
It's
some-
too mainstream,
Mhm.
and the thing with trends is that they come and they go.
Yeah.
It's like it's stuff that's sensationalized and like trendified, I guess is the term for it. Just the fact that it's labeled as a trend means
gives
that
you ick.
yeah, gives me ick, but because people expect it then to rise and fall as a trend.
Like
when
it gets
it's-
minimized. That's the word I'm trying to look
There you
for.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets minimized as a problem or as a thing,
tool.
as a tool. Yeah. And that just gives me the ick because like this has been an ongoing thing and we're only now just like putting this kind of label on it, right?
Like it's like it's always been there, but we're just putting a spotlight on it, and then all of a sudden it's a bad thing. When a lot of people bed rot, and like we're slipping into our last section of the thing. Why did it
Conclusion.
become so trendy? I'm sick and tired of living through world history.
The pandemic is a big one.
Oh my god,
Like, what else are we supposed to do?
like in the early noughts, what was the most thing? What, 9/11?
Yeah, early 2000s would have been 9/11, especially for
And then like the recession, but like only the old people really knows about how the recession went. Like people who were paying.
yeah.
But like the most notable one is 9/11. I could be. I'm no history buff.
This is America-centric. We live in North America.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, and now in like what? As soon as 2020 hit, they're like,
Pandemic.
one more time.
One more time. Yeah, exactly. No, and like the fact that people were shut in for so long, and like for some people that really helped them, and for some people it really didn't. But on either end, we were sitting at home in bed on a Zoom call, rotting our life away effectively.
And just like, it was a shitty thing. Let's be honest, it was a shitty thing. As somebody who kind of flourished during the pandemic because I don't like living in the house, but it was still a shitty thing. And like, why did it become so like quote unquote trendy? It's because a lot of people are just going through shit right now. It's like,
and like we have more access to it because people post it online.
Yeah, there's like social media now. Mm-hmm. Like it's more like in use nowadays. Yeah.
And more instant too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it became trendy because it was needed.
Effectively, yeah.
It became, again, trendy is in quotes. It became like such a trendy topic and why it caught on so much because effectively everybody was doing it.
And it affected everything too.
It affected everybody.
Like when everything opened up, like I know for a fact in schools our biggest contention is with like the after effects of like, you know, the Zoom generation. Like why are kids less resilient? Why are kids at a lower reading like a much lower reading level than ever before? Or arithmetic or whatever. Social skills is a big one.
Yeah, why don't y'all... Where's your house training, man?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that right now. Where's your house training?
We need to bring conduct in schools. Like grading conduct.
Or even just like social awareness, like of self, of others. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Another episode.
Yeah.
Let's bring back shame.
Let's bring back shame.
But like,
oh my goodness,
I think it just became trendy because everybody was doing it, and now there's finally a name for it.
Right. Yeah.
And
or at least a catchy title for it, a clickbaity title that they can use.
Like if you hear the word rot, of course you want to look into it because
you're like, ooh, rot? Are my children doing this?
Yeah. Do I need a new mattress for bed rotting? Yeah, it's in the article that I read. Like, it's not, yeah, literally, it says like bed rotting is not needing a new mattress; it's self-care.
Oh my goodness.
Or is it?
But yeah, I think it's just the fact that it's the hero that we needed, or it's the term that we needed that everybody has been doing. And another gripe that I kind of have with like the definitions that you said when people say like, oh, they're doom scrolling. I'm just like, is it doom scrolling or they're just getting informed about what's happening outside?
Well, that's the thing. It could be a slippery slope. Mm-hmm. It's not all the time.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, though. But, like, doom scrolling could be its own episode. Or its own segment, even.
And, like, why it became so trendy is because it talks about mental health. Yeah. Let's be honest. There's, like... Again, trendy in quotations. Because there's, like... As much as, like, mental health has a little bit of a spotlight on the mainstream, is it the right spotlight? Majority of the time, no.
You say that about anything in the mainstream, really. Is the mainstream spotlight really a good spotlight for anything? Yeah,
that's true. And like, I feel like bedrotting is different for everybody. And the thing about it is that like when you have a discussion about mental health, like a lot of people has different opinions about it. Mm-hmm. Whether, let's be honest, if you're white, it's gonna be a little bit more accessible as somebody who is as brown as us, who's visibly minority. On top of that, if you are somebody who is queer or like outside of heteronormativity, it's so much more harder about it. And like how people talk about mental health, yes, it's on the forefront, but like look how people talk about men's health. It's such like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's a big onion to unravel there.
Yeah, and like I feel like there are good spokespersons for men's mental health. I can't speak on men's mental health just because I'm female presenting. But there are, like, when I do listen on discussions, you have to kind of listen to your hubris.
Yeah, and, like, that's the thing is that, like, for men, it's like there's that... Especially for men, there's that stigma around mental health. You know, you gotta be a man, tough it out. You can do this. So, like, don't cry.
Like, the toxic masculinity that they don't want to fucking address. And, like, that's another term that's been, like, bastardized and, like, coins, like, toxic masculinity when it's a real thing. Yeah. Is that under toxic masculinity, male hubris just runs rampant.
Yeah, they go hand in hand for sure. And like female humility, like that like goes hand in hand with that is that like, they're at least more with that humility, they're more introspective.
Yeah, they're more open into speaking about like, yeah, I am not doing well.
Yeah, and like in our research for like this episode and like other episodes as well, like we encountered like, do y'all know Gardner's multiple intelligences?
No,
I
could you
have not
please
heard
like,
about that.
So that's fine. Man called Howard Gardner. Don't know what era. Sorry, to my psychology professors and my education professors. But Howard Gardner had this like, I guess it's technically a theory that like people have like multiple intelligences. So there's your. It's not gonna be a complete list. There's gonna be your verbal, your interpersonal, intrapersonal, physical.
I think
that
I
kind of
heard
thing.
about
yes,
this, but I don't know about
spatial.
Spatial awareness.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's been scientifically proven, or
Yeah.
it's been scientifically observed that like some intelligences are more prevalent in like male bodies versus like female bodies, and some of the more masculine or feminine qualities make somebody, regardless of their like sex presentation and their like identity, regardless of that, if they have more masculine traits, they are seen as more masculine.
Yeah.
And they have like that sort of, they lean more towards that male hubris side,
Yeah.
while those who are more in tune with their feminine side, I guess, for the
Just to give a layman's term on
to
it.
give a layman's term
Yeah.
on it, that's been around for a while. Those people who are like effectively more emotionally like smart,
Intelligent, yeah.
emotionally intelligent, yeah, your higher emotional IQ, they have those more feminine qualities. So they do fall more toward that female humility. So those people who do have like that more like higher like emotional intelligence
Yeah, and
would have me more in touch, obviously, with their mental health and their self-awareness and self-actualization levels, right?
yeah, because you need to have humility about yourself.
Yeah.
To look into yourself and see what the fuck is wrong.
And be like vocalize that to either
Yeah.
yourself or to someone else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like actually like put in the work and like, okay, I need to go to therapy or I need to possibly go on medication, and there's a whole big stigma about being on the medication, stuff like that.
Another
Oh, yeah.
episode.
I do find that female humility leads to, don't quote me on this, into having like better mental health care.
Or at least more awareness of like
Yeah.
your mental health issues and
And the male hubris, I feel like, just gets in the way for like so many things.
so many things, but especially
many
mental
things.
health. And we were talking about men's mental health, right?
Mhm.
Because like again, there is that such stigma around talking about it, even. Or,
Yeah,
like,
just like,
vocalizing
oh, just
that.
be a man. I'm just like,
Yeah.
bitch, it's
Hmm.
2023,
I heard some-
2024.
Yeah, I heard somewhere like the highest rate for trigger warning for suicides is under men because it's not as, outspoken. No, that's not the word I'm looking for.
It's not as verbalized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Well,
word.
and to your point, you were saying earlier that like for you, it's better like you're trying not to like bottle up all those emotions.
Yeah.
That's a very patriarchal.
That's
way
a very
of, like,
man
thinking
thing
it.
to do,
Yeah.
to be honest.
No,
Yeah.
no, I do try to not do it because but
Yeah.
at the same time I can't really face it head on because I'm not really equipped on how to face it. So
Yeah.
it's just in the back of my mind, just distracting myself, pretty much doing everything overworking myself to the point where I'll be exhausted once I get home, and then of course wake up being exhausted again.
Yeah.
And of course, but I feel better because I'm
Not thinking about
I
it.
felt like I accomplished something, and of course I was not thinking about it. But I know when I'm all alone, thinking it's in the back of my mind, it
Yeah.
creeps up to me. It
Well,
should
yeah.
be knocking on my door.
Yeah, and that's what happens with like we can talk about this another episode, another one, like male loneliness.
Oh,
Like,
fuck yeah.
yeah, when you have
the
like,
incel epidemic.
the incel epidemic,
and
like,
also the femcells are catching up, you bitches.
oh god, okay, but yeah, you know what I mean. It's like those trends where you're supposed to be a man, be maximally selfish, and like close off all your feelings, and then eventually, that does catch up to you.
It does catch up to you, and it takes humility to just take a step back, and like everybody around, you're like popping off on the wrong people. You're getting explosively angry on the wrong situations.
Mhm.
It takes humility to just take a step back. I'm like, something's wrong,
Yeah.
right? And that's, I don't know. That's a episode. That's an entire.
Oh, it's an entire episode on its own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess to conclude, what we're trying to say, in long-winded way of saying, is we've given you guys a lot of perspectives. We've given you a lot of
Personal experiences,
Personal
yeah.
experiences.
Like what we go through.
And like we hope that this trend, I guess, and like this generalization of bedrotting is bad can like alleviate
Yeah.
even just for a little bit.
Yeah, if there's something you can take away from us rambling on for this long, and if you stayed here till this long, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Love you, appreciate you. But yeah, the one thing we want you to take away is that like something like this and a bunch of other things as well, but specifically bedrotting and like all the implications that it imply, there's no one way about it. You can't just go, this is bad or this is good, without any semblance of acknowledging the nuances behind it.
Yeah.
Like again, like we've got 3 different perspectives here with 3 different experiences. Some of them overlap and some of them are completely different. And that's going to be the same for whether you meet
Whoever is listening to this.
whoever's listening
Yes,
to this,
yes.
if whether or not you consider yourself neurodivergent, whether you consider yourself neurotypical, whether you're somewhere in between, whether you don't want to think about it at all, like just take away the fact that
Bedrotting is a tool that you can use. Don't let them let you think that it's a bad thing, because it's truly not.
yeah, like
Yeah.
take from our experiences and our opinions what you will, and form your own
Like,
opinions
Try
about
it
it.
out if you want.
Try it out if you want.
Yeah.
Let us
Do
know in
some-
the comments how it went.
Do some field research.
Yeah, make yourself as a test subject.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Exactly. Like personally, I still don't think it doesn't work for me because I do feel bad after.
Mhm.
So there's probably a different way for me to to de-stress
Mhm.
and to
Or like different methods or
different methods.
strategies you can use. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I just
sure.
haven't found the right fit for me.
Different strategies.
Yeah.
That's the term. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
so-
try different things out. Make sure that like you are staying safe though.
Yeah.
And if you do need to seek professional help, again, please seek professional help.
There is always somebody.
There's
willing
always
to
somebody there.
listen to you and like help. You are not alone. I've been there. You are not alone.
No.
The entire world is not having your backs to you. Yeah, I guess what we're trying to say is like we hope that if this is a little bit too triggering, please again heed the warning.
Yeah.
Heed the trigger warnings. Listen to yourself. Take care of yourself. We want you here to listen to future episodes.
And also because you are a light in this dark world on your
Yeah.
own.
yeah.
You as a person are worth it and are enough.
Yeah, so like we said, we do have some links in the description. Use them, and like just don't feel bad for asking for help. Everybody needs it.
Especially if you're a man. Be a man. Ask for help.
But yeah, that's it for this episode. Like we said, this is the gaze. We have taken a look at it. This is Tree signing off.
This is Migs signing off.
This is Gerbs signing off.
We'll listen to you later.